Hi, Phil Schoenberg, Fastpitch Power. I get to sit today. That's a great thing for me. I had a great question, a really great question asked by one of our followers, William, who just became the coach of his team and said, I'm going to be responsible for calling the games. How would I go about calling pitches? Now, William's perspective was pretty narrow, and I'm going to try to broaden it just a little bit. But William's perspective was, how do I call pitches without the other team coaches figuring out what it is that I'm calling? Now, William, I'm really sorry to hear how jaded you are to even think that an opposing coach would try to steal signs. I've never heard of any such thing. Obviously, I'm kidding. Any coach is going to take any advantage that they possibly can. So your job as a coach is not only to disseminate information to your catcher, and I'll get to that in a second, but to make sure that the other team is not catching on to what you're doing. This used to be the most fun I had as a coach when I was coaching a team. To me, it was like a chess match. I had to think 3-4 moves ahead. I had to look at where the batter was standing, how that batter was built, what the situation was in the field, what hitters were coming up in order for me to determine exactly how I was going to call the game. But let me keep it simple at first and I could just tell you how I used to do it. I used to keep it very simple, but I used to use a 3-signal sequence that the catcher could readily understand and not be confused by, in order to keep the other team off balance and to get the information to the catcher about what pitch I wanted thrown at what time appropriately. So let's just take, and I like to keep it like baseball signs, fastball, curveball, and William's pitcher, or the pitcher that William, I'm assuming it's his daughter, throws a curveball and a screwball. So it's fastball, curveball, in this case screwball, changeup. She also throws a change. So let's just use those 3 signs, because those are those four signs, I'm sorry, in addition to fastball, because those are the 4 signs that William's daughter is dealing with. So what I would do is I would give a sign to the catcher, 3 signs, and I would tell the catcher at the beginning of the game it's the second sign that I give that counts. So again, fastball, curveball, screwball, changeup. Now, inside or outside. Now, for a curveball and a screwball, yeah, you can kind of change that to inside and outside, but really, I don't need to give inside or outside for a typical curve or a screw. A curveball is going to break to the outside corner, generally speaking, not always, and a screwball in to a right-hand batter. And we're always talking from the right-hand batter's perspective. Now I'm sitting in the dugout in view of my catcher, not my pitcher. My pitcher can see me, but I don't want my pitcher looking at me. I want my pitcher looking at my catcher. Pitcher's job is to execute pitches. She's got enough to think about in executing the pitch that is called for her. I want my catcher to know and to think, where should this pitch be, what pitch should it be, and calling pitches, and then bringing the catcher into the dugout in between innings and discuss what was called and why is a great teaching moment for your catcher. Your catcher is your field captain. She sees everything at all times. She's the one who needs to learn, when do I call a certain pitch at a certain time and why. Great time for you as a coach to be teaching your catcher how to command that field and be in control of that game. So, I want a first pitch inside fastball. Now you can see I'm set up like a catcher sitting here. I'm always going to sit on a bucket, okay? This is my left knee, and it's always to a right-hand batter. This is my left knee, this is my right knee. So I'm going to use my left hand for an inside fastball, and I'm going to do 3, 1, 2. Okay, the middle signal, 1, fastball. If I do 4, 4, 1, middle signal, changeup. If I'm using my left hand, I want that ball on the inner portion of the plate. Right hand, I'm going to have both hands dangling here. If I use my right hand, my catcher knows I want that ball on the outside corner of the plate to a right-hand batter. So 2, 2, 1, curveball. Okay? Now, the opposing team may be looking at you do this, and they may be figuring something out at some point in time. It's going to take a little while. So generally speaking, in the third or fourth inning, I would go to the catcher and I would bring her in and say, it's now the third sign I'm giving. 3, 2, 1. That's a fastball. That's the third sign. So if they've caught on, hey, it looks like the fastball is the number 1 and the middle signal looks like what's going on here, let's see if that's it, well then you change the sequence. And you should do that automatically during the course of the game just to throw off the opposing team's coaches. It's not difficult. It's something that the catcher can remember, and it's usually the easiest way to transmit the information without getting too complicated and having signs missed. One of the other things that's very important in calling a game is to get your catcher to understand why you're calling what you're calling in a particular situation. You know, this is not like, you know, those tests we used to love in school. They called them multiple guess, A, B, C, and D. And you're just looking at your score sheet and you're going, gee, I haven't used a C in a while, so let me put down C here. You're just guessing at the answers. So I don't want a catcher or my catcher ever thinking, gee, I haven't called a screwball in a while, but you're dealing with a 5'2", muscular, strong hitter who's standing 6 to 8 inches off of the plate. She's got short arms and legs, and I'm going to throw a screwball which is going to be right into her power alley just because I haven't called one in a while. So understand the relationship as a coach and make sure you teach your catcher to understand the relationship between how a batter is built, where she's standing, what the situation is, what her tendencies are if it's later on in the game, so that you can teach your catcher how to think the way you're thinking as a coach. So yes, you want to keep the opposing coaches off balance, but I'll tell you the truth. If I've got a pitcher who is executing her pitches, you know, Mariano Rivera, you knew what pitch was coming, you knew where it was going to be, and you still couldn't hit it. If my pitchers can execute their pitches, you know, and my opposing coaches want to waste their time trying to steal my signs, let them go ahead. That means that they're not focusing on the things that they should be focusing on their team. But you can simply do it by sequencing, middle signal, third signal, first signal, keeping the sign simple. Again, left hand, inside corner to a right hand batter, right hand, outside corner, movement pitches. Just call your movement pitch as you see fit and hope that that ball moves. I hope that this has been useful. If you have any further questions on this, and I love to hear from other coaches, we share ideas all the time as to how they do it. If you need any more information, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll talk to you next time.